Hi, this is Mrs. Robertson, and today we're going to review surface area and volume. And we have this lovely worksheet we're going to do, and we're going to get it all done in class because we don't want to have to do any homework on Fridays. And I want to make sure you understand how to do all these problems. All right? So, I want you to write down everything that I do the same time as I do. If for some reason you're not able to catch up, I will post this in my Google Classroom, and you can always go back and watch it in Google Classroom to get the things that you weren't able to during class if I'm going too fast for you. But I don't think I will. Now, let's look at number 1, surface area. Well, the word area means we're going to use inches squared because these are all in inches, so it'll be inches squared. That'll be worth a point on your test probably, because on our last test you got points for using the right label. So it's very important to make sure you know what label it is. Surface area means we have to find the area of each shape and add them together. All right, there are 6 rectangles that we have to add together, and they come in groups of 2s where they have the same. 3 times 2 is 6. Does everyone see how I got a 6 for that one? What's other one's going to have a 6? This one right here. That's right. This one is also 3 by 2. If this is 3, then this side is 3, this side is 3. All of those sides are 3s. All right. Now let's do the wings. This one is 2 by 6. What's 2 times 6, kids? So I'm going to put a 12 in there. And which other one is going to be a 12? The bottom one. And now we have our largest faces. And this is going to be, it is 6 by 3. What's 6 times 3? 18. All right. Now, if we get to use a piece of paper for our test, make sure you show your work so I could give you a little few points or something when I put your score into Skyward. I can't give you partial credit in Mastery Connect, but when I put your grades in Skyward, I always look to see, did they show anything? Can I give them at least a point for this? So show your work on the paper so I can do that. Does everyone have their areas for each rectangle in there? And I circle them so I know those are areas, and that way I know these are the measurements and things. All right, so now I'm ready to add them together. So when I add these problems together, I have 2 12s, 2 6s, and 2 18s. And 2 12s equals 24, 2 6s equal 12, and 2 18s are 36. Now when I add them all together, did you get 72? Yes. And it's going to be 72 what? Inches squared. Are there any questions on that, kids? Everyone okay? All right. Now let's go to the next one. Number 2 says find the volume and surface area. Okay, so volume. The formula for volume, and let's write this down, is length times width times height. Okay, I'm going to say this is my length, I'm going to say this is my width, and this one is my height. Now, I'll be honest, it doesn't matter which one you say, because if I put my box like this, then it would be different, okay? If you rotate them around a little differently, your length might be different, but that's what I've done here, okay? So, to find my volume, I'm going to have volume equals 6.4 times 14.2 times 4 8/8. And you multiply that together, and what did you get? If you used your calculator, which I think you get to use the calculator for these, what did you get? Yes? 436.224. 436 and 234?
436.
436 point what?
224.
Is that what everyone else got when they put it in their calculator? And what's my label going to be for volume? Millimeters what? Volume is cubed. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, let's draw a net for number 2. So I'm going to draw my rectangles. This is my top. It is 6.4 by 14.2. 14.2, 6.4. That's my top. And I just put a little t to help me keep track. My front is 14.2 by 4.8. 4.8. 14.2. Then my bottom, that's my front. The bottom matches my top. It goes 6.4 by 14.2. That's the bottom. And the back is going to match the front. It's going to go by a 4.8. Those of you that are good in art will find this easy if you do a lot of drawing. So this matches this matches this, top, bottom, front, back, and now I have my sides left. And it's 4.8 by 6.4. And that matches this because this is 6.4 and that is 6.4. Do you see it? And here's my wing for this side. Okay, did everyone get that? I'm going to just highlight it so you can see the top and the bottom are the same. The front and the back are the same. And my right and my left are the same. Do you see that? Okay, so now let's get the calculator out and find what is 6.4 times 14.2. 90.88. Yeah, so let's put 90.88 in each one of the yellow ones, right? Now let's find the front and the back. It's 14.2 times 4.8, right? Do you see where I get those numbers? Okay, 14 and 2/10 times 4 and 8/10, 68 and 1600ths. Now I just have my right and my left side. And it is 6 and 4/10 times 4 and 8/10. It's 6.4 by 4.8. Yep, 30.72. I'll circle that. Now we add them all together to get our surface area. So 90, we have 2 of those. We have 2 30s and 7200ths. And I have 2 68s and 1600ths. Add those all together and we'll get our surface area. That's what I have. Now, if you're not used to using these calculators, sometimes you think you put a decimal point in and you don't or something. So just always pay attention. And let's say you had all of this written down on a piece of paper, but you didn't get that for your answer because you made a mistake. If you show that, I can give you partial credit, okay? As long as I see things that I can give you some credit for. So 379 and 5200ths. What's my label going to be? Millimeters? Squared. It's got the word area. Area means it's going to be squared. Any questions on how to do problem 1? Everyone's thumbs up? Problem 2, finding the volume and surface area of these shapes. Okay? Good. Now let's look at number 3. A rectangular prism has a volume of 810. I'm going to circle that. It has a length of 10 and a width of 9. What is the height of the prism? First thing I'm going to do is write down the formula for the volume of a prism. Volume equals length times width times height, right? Now, we know, volume is 810. So where will I put the 810? Under which one of those letters? Volume, V. 810 equals, my length is 10. My width is 9, so under the W I put a 9, and I don't know the H. All right. If you would show that on your test next week, I would at least give you a little bit of points, okay? Now, let's combine our like terms. 810 equals, what's 10 times 9? 90 times H. You got it? Now, 90 times what is 810? All you have to do is, what's the opposite of multiplying? And some of you already know what the answer is without dividing. What's 810 divided by 9? Or I'm dividing by 90, excuse me. What's 810 divided by 90? 9, that's right. So H equals 9 meters. Okay. So when I get that, I end up with 9 equals H. Do you see how to do the substitution? This is not hard. You just have to make sure your brains are on. I will have the formula for length times width times height on the board for you. But you'll have that memorized, don't you? How many of you already know what the volume formula is? It's so easy. The main thing is write it down. Write this stuff down, and it keeps your brain awake and open so it knows what to do. Let's go to number 4. Everyone good with number 3 there? Okay, and number 4. A storage container is the shape of a rectangular prism. Okay, it's in the shape of something like this. The container has a length of 10 feet, a width of 8 feet, and a height of 12 feet. What is the surface area and what is the volume? Okay, let's do the volume first, all right? Volume equals length times width times height, all right? So the length is 10, the width is 8, and the height is 12. What do you get when you multiply those together? $960. Now it's important. It's a volume answer. 960 what? Circle the word volume. Do you use square for volume? It's cubed. Do you know why it's cubed, kids? It has 3 numbers, and volume is 3-dimensional. It's measuring how many cubes fit into a shape. It doesn't matter. It doesn't measure flat things. It measures how many little cubes can you put in that. Picture cube Legos. How many cubed Legos could I get in this box? That's what it tells you. Okay? Now, surface area. Well, I'll be honest. It's going to be easier for the surface area to just sort of draw your shape. 10 by 8 by 12. So 10, I'm going to say this is 10 by 8, and it's 12 inches high. Okay, make those a little. So this is 10 by 12 by 8. Now, in 6th grade, we're not allowed to give you the surface area formula, but I'm going to give it to you, kids. This is the surface area formula. SA equals 2 times length times width. Why? Because we have 2 of them. The length times the width is our top and our bottom. Plus 2 times length times height. The length times the height is your right and your left side. There are 2 of them. Plus 2 times height times width. Your height and your width, the height and the width is left and right. The height and length is your front and back. All right, so that's just the formula. I won't have that on the board. I'm not allowed to give you that formula. But you just think you have 8 times 10 and you have 2 of them. That's 80, right? So I'm going to do 80 plus 80. I have 2 that are 12 times 10. 12 times 10 is 120 plus 120. Then my last one, I haven't taken 8 times 12. 8 times 12 is 96, so I have 2 96s. Okay, we add those all together and that will give us our surface area. All right, so let's do that. Did you get 592? Everybody got that that's done it so far? And what's my label going to be? Feet squared. Are you getting good at this part now? 592 feet squared. Any questions? All right, just remember for surface area of a rectangular prism, you have 2 of each pieces. Okay, you have 2 that are 8 by 10, 2 that are 12 by 10, and 2 that are 8 by 12. Are we ready to go to the back side? Okay, let's go to the back side. Number 5. Find the volume of the rectangular prism if it is 1/3 full. Okay, formula. Volume formula, V equals length times width times height. Now, I have not seen what your test is going to look like next week, but last year we gave you points for writing down the formula. Everyone can write down the formula, especially if it's written on the board, right? Everyone can substitute. Volume equals 7 times 4 times 2. If you put 2 times 4 times 7, that is still correct, okay? It doesn't matter the order because they're all multiplying, and that's the commutative property. Now, 56. What's my label going to be? Meters what? It's volume cubed. Okay, 7 times 4 is 28. 28 times 2 is 56. Does everyone see how I got that? Now it wants to know what is the answer if it's 1/3 full. All you do is you take this answer times 1/3. So 56 times 1/3. How do we multiply fractions? Well, it's 56 over 1 times 1 over 3. And you end up with 56 thirds. Okay? Now, if they want it in simplest form, if you put 56 thirds, it's probably going to be counted right, unless it says in simplest form. Simplest form would say, well, what is 56 divided by 3? Subtract, bring down. How many 3s are in a 26? 8. And you have a remainder of 2/3. So it would be 18 and 2/3 meters cubed for 1/3 of it. So it equals 56 over 3, which simplifies to 18 and 2/3 meters cubed. Do you see how to do that? So if it were 1/2 full, let's say it said 1/2 full. Let's just practice that over here. 1/2 full, you would just take 56 times 1/2, right? That would give you 56 over 2. And when you divide 56 by 2, you would get 2 goes into 5 2 times, 16, 28 meters cubed. Any questions on how to do it if it were half full? They didn't ask for half full. I was just showing you what to do. Any questions? Okay, now we have litter boxes. I couldn't think of what to do for these. Anyway, Lola has 4 litter boxes. That was Miss Klein's idea. Calculate the volume of each litter box and identify, are there 2 T's in litter box or just 1? Okay, I didn't know, it sort of looked weird. And identify which box has the greatest volume. Well, kids, we're going to find the volume of each one of these boxes. So, volume equals length times width times height. Let's write it down, and then you can use your calculator. Oh, but this one has a fraction. 6 times 15 times, that will equal, change it to an improper fraction, 4/3. Do you all see how I got 4/3 for 1 and 1/3? You multiply, add, and put it on top. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4 on top of a 3. Now I'm going to put a 1 underneath those because we're multiplying by fractions. Now, let's simplify before we multiply. 3 will divide 3 once, and will 3, you could do it, you can either divide the 15 or the 6. Let's just do the 15. 3 goes into 15 how many times? 5. Now, the volume for this pan is 6 times 5 is 30, times 4 is 120 over 1. So that's 120 inches cubed. So that litter box is 120 inches cubed. Got it? You see how I have that? Don't you dare just write down 120. You have to show how to get that answer. Now let's go to pan B. 7 times 13 times 2. That'll give us our volume. So 7 times 13 times 2, what did you get? 182 inches cubed. Now let's go to pan C. 7 times 8 times 2. What's the volume for that pan? 112 inches what? Cubed. And pan D. 6, I should say box instead of pan. 6 times 7 times, let's change 2.5 to an improper fraction. What's the improper fraction for 2.5? 5/2. All right, so I got to put them over a 1. Hey, can I do a shortcut? Can I simplify before I multiply with the 2? What will the 2 divide? 2 divides 2 once. 2 divides 6 how many times? That turns into a 3. Now we've got an easy problem. 3 times 7 is 21, and 21 times 5. Did you get 105? And 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So the answer is 105 inches cubed. Now, which one of those boxes has the greatest volume? Pan B. So just which one has the greatest volume? B. All right. Any questions on this? All right, so what I want you to do, I want you to go back to number 5, and I want you to draw a net, and I'm going to give you graph paper. I want you to draw it on graph paper, and you're going to go down 7 over 4, and I want you to do it on graph paper to match that. So let me get you a piece of graph paper, and you're going to draw a net like that on the graph paper. Got it? And kids, you're going to get the good expensive stuff. I'm not going to make, you're not going to get the copied graph paper. I'm giving you real graph paper. And
you know you're still recording.
oh, thank you. Yeah. First period gets the good graph paper. Have a good day and a nice weekend.